Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the GrowthStart Insights video podcast. In this episode, we've got with us the CEO of KingOnline, Tinashe Guramatunhu. Welcome, Tinashe.
Hi, Bernard, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We really appreciate your input. Got a couple of questions to ask you. So I'm hoping we're not going to take too much of your time, but we really do appreciate your input. So should we kick it off? I'm going to ask you the first question and then, we'll just have a chat.
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Great. So firstly, Tinashe, if you can tell us a little bit about your e-commerce background and as well the current projects that you are busy with.
Sure. Okay. So I am the founder of a company called KingOnline. We're a niche online e-commerce store, and we sell a range of different products in the health space. The products range from vegan products to supplements, immune boosting supplements, natural hair products, and a range of test kits. All in all, we've got about 2,000 products that we stock in our range of products. And I suppose our what we really try to focus on is on customer service and on fast delivery. Those are the two key pillars that we focus on when it comes to our company.
All right. Tinashe, if I can ask you, when you first started out, did you envision your e-commerce journey being at the point where you are now? So did you see it becoming this thing that you call now KingOnline, or did you see something else when you first started out?
No, so it's an interesting story actually. So when we started, let me put it this way: we've pivoted so many times I can't even count it on the number on my fingertips, on my fingers anymore. We started off, KingOnline actually started off as King Condoms. We were a condom brand. We used to sell condoms when we started back in 2012, which feels like a lifetime away now from where we are now. Yeah. And that's where we started. The company was called King Condoms, and we were one of the first people in South Africa to bring in a different style to condoms at the time. I had one day read a report that said that there wasn't enough supply of condoms in South Africa, but the demand was high, and I thought it would be a pretty cool idea to start my own condom brand. And from there, it kind of snowballed into what you see now as KingOnline, very much still in the healthcare space, but more towards a lifestyle type health products, which is what we sell now. If I could tell you a couple of stories. The first one is when we started selling the condoms, actually. We had actually started by targeting universities. So we would sell in and around the university areas, in spaza stores, and all the small little tuck shops in and around university areas in the Johannesburg, Pretoria area. And over time, what actually we realized is that, and this is, I suppose, one of the first lessons that we learned, is that when you're selling a product, it's all really about scale, especially when it comes to a product that really goes to selling products to sort of the mid to lower end of the market. And we failed miserably when it came to selling in the township, in the university market. We then thought, all right, maybe what we needed is distribution. We needed scale. So we started trying to sell our products in the townships. I remember I spent, I don't know, I can't even count, but I spent countless Friday nights, Saturday nights, even Sunday nights sometimes, trying to sell condoms in the township area. And although it was a very interesting period in my life in which I learned quite a lot of lessons, but again, in that market, I learned also a couple of really interesting things, around price sensitivity and around sort of what makes people actually want to buy your products. So sort of from there, we pivoted again into trying to get into the normal brick and mortar retailers, of which we kind of saw we found a couple of challenges there, which included not having enough marketing budgets and the normal things that a bigger company would want for you in order to list just one product out of the range of products that they already have. And eventually over time, we kind of pivoted into trying to do it ourselves, and we landed online. When we landed online, we figured that, you can sell a whole range of different products. It just doesn't have to be one product. And a lot of the products that we started with at the time were complementary products. Pregnancy test kits, for example, apple cider vinegar, weight loss stuff. So and then it pretty much snowballed into what we have now, which is a pretty robust online niche health store.
Great. So I kind of hear what you're saying. It sounds to me like the first thing that got you into e-commerce in the first place is you saw that opportunity in the condom market. So if you can maybe tell us more about, were there any other reasons that made you look at e-commerce in the first place? Or, did you have this idea firstly as a business, get a product that has an opportunity to it and then, put that in stores and then the e-commerce came after?
Yeah. So, I almost kind of see e-commerce is an enabler. And it's a channel in which you can get a lot of your products or your services out to a much broader market in a more efficient, cost-effective manner. And what it really starts with is a vision. If you have a vision as to what product or what service that you want to do, and you've got a business model around it, this is how I buy stuff, and this is how I sell it, and this is what I make in between, and this is and e-commerce is the platform on which you put your products for the world to see, view, and buy. And if you've got something that people want, and you provide generally a good service, then people will buy your product.
Now, I heard you talking a lot about scale. Has that been one of your biggest challenges, in this whole journey of yours?
Yes, absolutely. I think all businesses have the issue with scale. And actually all businesses, especially when they're product based like our business, to a certain extent, we're product and service, because we've got the really, really, really good customer service and the delivery. But when it comes to products, if you're selling a product, you need to get your product, or you want to get your product into as many hands as possible. And what that essentially means is that you have to position yourself in a way in which you have to scale your business. And that's one of the key challenges that a lot of people face, especially when they're starting out, because scaling at some point in time actually requires a lot of capital in order for you to do it, depending on your distribution model, depending on whether you need space to warehouse your products, and all of that, and how much it costs you to actually buy some of the supplies that you want. You have to then put in a bunch of cash in there, but at the same time, you don't want to put so much cash in when your customer base is a growing customer base. So it's not really at the time where you can, sell 1 million products. It comes over time with time, and it's a time thing really. But yeah, scale is where I think everybody wants to get to.
Yeah.
There are steps that you need to follow in order to get to that scale.
So, I kind of hear what you were saying, and you were talking about capital as well. Having 2,000 products, those are quite big milestones, and for a lot of people, that is kind of an objection for them not to get into an online business, not to get into e-commerce. So, how did you get to that point, having 2,000 products? Because I'm assuming that it hasn't happened overnight. And then how also did you deal with the capital that you had to put in while being, very small and that scale not being there?
Yeah, so let me start by saying that on our platform, we've got a number of different suppliers. And a number of our suppliers are actually from people who have one product, and people who have 5 products, and people who have close to 200 products in just, from one supplier. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is that there are people out there who actually have a profitable, good running business with 1 or 2 products. And that's because they've really honed in on a niche. They're doing something that nobody else is doing, and their products are well known in the market because they've got good marketing and good coverage all over the place, and it's really working. So you can do it with 1 product, but you'd have to be very specific about what that product is, and you have to be very intentional around the marketing around that product. Or you could do it very similar to what we're doing, which is essentially a platform where a lot of products related to the health space can list, and then make sure, and then be guaranteed that there's great customer service and good delivery that's underpinning your products being sold wherever they're going to their customers. So I think you can do both, and it's just a matter of figuring out really what your marketing strategy is and what the business model plan is.
Yeah. My next question, what would you say is the biggest problem that you had or biggest obstacle that you've had in this time?
Biggest obstacle? That's a difficult question because there are obstacles on every turn, and each obstacle is different. So you almost have to internally come to the conclusion that you will face a number of different obstacles that need to be solved in a different, innovative way, or you might have to do something completely radical, or whatever the case is. So that will happen. But if I were to pinpoint a challenge that we probably had, and maybe if I look at the beginning, it was really around marketing, knowing exactly how to market our products. And how we kind of figure that out or what needs to happen in a case like that, where marketing is one of your biggest challenges, is that you need to understand your customer. You need to know your customer really, really well. Know what it is that they want or what it is that they need, and then figure out a way in which you can provide that for them in a way that's cost effective for both you and them, and then everything will work out. So at different stages we've had different challenges. At the beginning it was really around the marketing, and marketing still is something that's very, very vital. It's key to our business and key to where we are now. But if we were to move forward a bit and move into sort of where we are now with quite a big product range, and we've got awesome customers that support us all the time, I think the challenge now is really around getting the customer to stay with you over a much longer period of time. Yes, you can offer the great customer service, yes, you can offer the great delivery, but your customers grow, and as they grow, you need to grow with them. So it's constantly now the challenge is figuring out, where have they grown in, what have they grown into, and how can you be part of that growth. So that's and it's exciting and it's interesting to be part of, actually.
So if I had to list it down, in order that you kind of built this business, I would say, cool. Number one, we're going to first look for that opportunity and find that product with a big enough market to actually sell. The second thing is obviously doing proper research and making sure that your audience are actually interested and that you have a big enough audience to actually be able to scale and make it worthwhile. My next question would be, what was the biggest skill that you've learned in this time in the e-commerce industry?
Funny enough, the biggest skill is not the tech skills. The tech skills are things that you can get other people to do for you, or you can learn it, but it doesn't really take that much to learn. The biggest skill is around people. Yeah, it's about dealing with people. It's about how to talk to people and how to react to certain situations. You get an angry customer, and it might be, the customer might be angry for no reason, or it might be a misunderstanding, and you kind of have to know how to talk to them in a way that sort of placates whatever's happening at the time. Staff, for example, you need to talk to a staff and understand where they are in their lives, and understand why someone's having a bad day, or even understand why someone's having a good day. Suppliers, same thing. Everything in e-commerce or in business, in my view, is all about people, and that's the key that really unlocks a lot, actually.
So,
just to your point, the second point that you mentioned around sort of these are the different steps that you've gone to get there. Man, I wish someone like you had told me about this much earlier, actually, because I feel like I did it the other way around. It really is about identifying the opportunity, doing a little bit of research around it, and then sort of getting into it. But I think I went about it in the other way around, and just got into it, and then the research sort of came later when we started looking at the data analysis, the data that we have now, knowing what markets to get into. We got into it with the wrong product at the wrong time. So and that's because of a lack of research that was done. We did research, but it wasn't at that level that really identifies the market and so forth. So if I could redo it again, I'd definitely do it the other way around. But at the same time, I appreciate how the lessons that I learned and how I went through it. It really helped in cutting our teeth, and now we kind of really know what we're doing.
I personally feel that it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. Everybody has that thing that they think, people are going to be interested in, and it's not necessarily that way around. So it's really super important to actually do that research and do that groundwork so that you are sure that you're not firstly going to waste money, put money into something that's not going to sell, spend lots of time, because Tinashe, the amount of time that you must have put in the last how many years, into this thing, and have that be for the wrong product. So if you can make that informed decision before even starting out, well, that's the first thing on your list to do, your chances of success are just going to be so much higher.
True.
The next question, Tinashe, you entered like a lot of incubators and competitions and things like that in the e-commerce space. Would you say that for a new startup, is that something valuable? Did you learn lessons out of that? Should somebody put their focus in that, or rather do the focus on, doing that market research and seeing, more detail about that customer?
Yeah, great question. I do think it's important to go through incubators or programs that help you and give you a step up and so forth. But the reason why most people should, in my opinion, should go into it is not necessarily so that they can access funding at the end of it, but it's actually to learn how other people are doing what they're doing. The greatest thing I think about incubator programs is that you actually get to interact with a lot of different people who've also got their own ideas and are at different stages of their own growth, and that kind of gives you a sense of where you are as well. And when you talk to people who are on the same journey as you, maybe at the same stage or not, you get to learn, and that's how you grow. So I like them for those purposes. And also it's a good way for you to market and to start nurturing relationships with people that you never know 10 years later down the line you're still in contact with, and they might even help you then. But I do think that a lot of people get into incubation programs because they think that this is the place where my business is gonna be transformed into something that works, and then once the business is up and running, then the incubator is going to give me access to cash or whatever. That's not really how incubators work. They're there to create an environment where you can communicate with other people who are, for lack of a better word, like-minded, and then it's up to you then to nurture those relationships over time.
So if I would put it down and, want to give somebody advice about actually going to an incubator, it would probably be a good suggestion to, have done as much groundwork on your business as possible. Have a working model before you hit that incubator. And then, as Tinashe mentioned, take those lessons that you can get from other entrepreneurs, talk about their products, hear about their pitfalls and mistakes that they've made, just to get the most amount of value out of that, instead of just going in there and hoping that somebody's actually going to help you make this thing successful and you might get some money from it, which most of the time, does not happen.
Right, 100%.
Another question for you, Tinashe. We were talking earlier a little bit about failure. So, for myself, I feel that, every time that I fail, I learn such a big lesson, and it just better equips you, for your next step or your next move. What was your biggest failure, and what was the lesson that you learned out of it?
I think there's a saying that goes that says, you learn the biggest lessons through failure, or something along those lines anyway. And it's very, very true. Although now when I look back at it, starting off with like a condom brand, for example, I think if I look back at it now, it's one of the biggest failures from a product perspective. But at the same time, what it did is that, and the lessons that came out of it is around product placement, around marketing, around what are the right channels to put your product on, and so forth. So I'm actually grateful for that experience of trying to get a condom brand launched, because it taught me some of the lessons that are now proving to be quite critical for the success that we have now in KingOnline.
So absolutely. You would never have, known that it wouldn't have worked if you never did it, right?
Right. You have, at the end of the day, this is the piece of advice that I give to every single person that I speak to, who's sort of either on this journey or wants to know how the journey works. Just do it. Because you will learn out the way, and don't expect to do it, the first time around. There are very, very few people who actually get it right the first time around. Maybe your Mark Zuckerbergs, maybe they got it right like the first time. I highly doubt it, but there are not that many Mark Zuckerbergs around. So you kind of have to think to yourself, what happens along this journey, and how many people tried to get to that stage. There are a lot of them, and some people failed and then they stopped and they quit and then they left. And a couple of guys who haven't, like the Jeff Bezos guys, for example, guys who've continuously innovated, become the best at a specific thing, and then have a whole bunch of cash in front of them, and then they go out and then they spread their wings. But that came about through a lot of different failures that they got, when they were just selling books and learning how it worked and so forth. So yeah, my general advice to anyone who wants to go into business in general is just do it.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, and a fantastic answer, just to add to there. So that's, one question gone. The next question that I've got for you, right? We were talking about failure, and I think this is just such a big thing, along with your advice, like the biggest thing that you can do is not quit. And with that goes consistency. But it is very, very difficult, especially from an emotional point of view, How do you deal with all this failure? So that's the question. How did you deal with the times that you actually felt, hey, I failed? And what is the thing that actually made you keep going?
That's a great question. I mean, failure is real, and failure can get you to a point where you become severely depressed. I think I even went through a phase of getting into like I'm depressed. I don't know what to do. This thing, I keep trying this thing and keeps failing. Is it me, or am I not cut out for this? So and it happens, and it's actually part of the journey that by the time you get out of it, you're actually a much stronger person. So you kind of have to. I do think that a lot of people who start business go through that process. And the way to cope with it, I was talking to a group of my friends who are also sort of entrepreneurs, do their own thing in their own different business, and we had this conversation about how do you deal with it. A lot of them said that, and maybe I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but you just get on with it. Literally just get on with it. You will get depressed, you will fail, you will do this and that, but that is part of the journey, and you kind of have to just get on with it. Other people I know, they it depends on sort of your upbringing and where you came from. If you've got a really strong support group, if you've got a wife, for example, that's a great way in which to stave off depression or feelings of anxiety on the business. Or if you've got a really good like family community, stick around people like that, people who give you energy and make you happy. That will help in your journey. But if you don't have that, get on with it. So I don't know if that's a particularly good advice, but that's sort of the feeling that I've got from everybody I've spoken to. That's how they've dealt with it. And it's almost like saying bottle it, keep it in and keep going. But it is important to let it out, and that sort of really works very well if you've got a good, strong base of people who you trust and can confide in and work with.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there with you. I think it's so important to have those people that are positive. You don't want, to be stressed out and, this product isn't working or my marketing campaign isn't doing as it's supposed to. And you surround yourself with somebody that is, negative about it. Oh yeah, I knew, that would never have worked. You should have listened to me. You don't want those kind of people around. So you really want to support have that support system, like you were saying, very, very important.
Yeah. And from my side, what I try to do, have people in my life that have positive energy. There's no space for negative energy here. If you've got negative energy, I'm sorry, you're not sticking around for too long here. Because everything in life in general, it's all about positive energy, and that's where you get whatever it is that you get in order to do what you want to do. It all comes from positive energy. So you absolutely want to surround yourself with as much positive energy as possible.
Now, Tinashe, you have some, audacious goals set up for KingOnline. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So what we think we are, and what I think we are. In fact, let me not say what we think or what I think. What KingOnline is it's a niche online health product store, and we provide a range of different products for communities of people who want products that you cannot find in multiple places. When we talk about natural hair, for example, there are not a lot of places that have natural hair products that don't have any chemicals that can hurt your hair. We've got a whole range of supplements that are vegan friendly. We've got a range of test kits, for example, even HIV test kits that people can do home testing. And we try to plug into all these communities, find out what they need, and see how we can get these products or whatever services that they need in the most efficient manner with great customer service. I think one of the things that's really sorely missing, especially in South Africa, is customer service. So, and we pride ourselves in that. So if I look 5 years from now and I say, well, where do I want to see KingOnline 5 years from now? I want to see us as being I want to see us as being the best niche online health store in sub-Saharan Africa. I see us sort of spreading our wings and making sure that we've got really, really good market share in the South African area, and then seeing if we can get into other areas and offering the same benefits in all the other areas. People are the same everywhere, and everybody needs the products that we offer. So we're wanting to bring a lot of happiness to a lot of people in a lot of communities.
That's fantastic, Tinashe. And I just think your whole business model is so fantastic. There's not a lot of companies, especially in the healthcare space, that I feel have really, even though you've got 2,000 plus products, you have still niched down, to those specific places. So you've got, the vegans and people with diabetes, and you have all these specific products. So in this group of products, you've got various niches that you have, specially selected those products for. I think that's very, very important that you just target that customer properly and know who you are selling to and what you are selling to them, and that there is actually an interest for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, I want you to tell us a little bit about your team. Firstly, how did it grow? Was it, did you do things by yourself from the start? At which point did you decide to actually get an employee? Then how many employees have you got currently, and what do they all do?
Cool. Great question. So let me start by saying that I have got the most awesome employees in the world. They're just phenomenal, and it's just great to work with every single one of them. And I think what the key is everyone's actually, they understand the vision, they understand where we're trying to go, and they believe in it. And it's awesome to see. And, if somebody has to stay up until 6-7 o'clock, nobody's going to complain about it. They actually do it because they understand exactly where we're trying to go with this. And I think that's important, is that whoever it is that you have on your team, they absolutely have to understand your vision. And also at the same time, you need to articulate it 1,000 times to them until they understand it also. And they agree with it. And then they see it and they're like, okay, cool, this is where we're going. So that's I think the first thing to mention is that you really have to have people who understand what you're trying to do and actually who you can trust, because I think trust is one of the most important things that comes to you, because as you grow, you're going to let go of a lot of responsibilities that you used to do yourself. So for example, I used to do deliveries. In fact, when we started off as KingOnline, we worked out of a garage. And you won't believe this, I used to live in a flat. And we turned the garage where my car used to be into our warehouse. We got to a point where the orders were so many that we needed like a space, and I didn't have money to rent office space. So we just basically turned the garage into a warehouse. And eventually the warehouse got too small, and then we got into like a bigger warehouse. And that's how it works. So it works slowly. It didn't happen overnight. So, I mean, we were in a garage for the greater part of 2 years. So to give you an idea of how long we were in the garage for before the products got to a point where, okay, cool guys, I think we're making enough cash flow and we've got our catalog is too big. We need a proper warehouse.
Now it's time to scale.
Yeah, and now it's time to scale, right? So it's very important for people to understand that this thing about scaling is it's not something that happens within a month or even a year. It could take years for you to get to a point where you now need to move on to the next level. Important. But when it comes to the staff, actually, I mean, right now we have a staff complement of about 10, all working in different positions. We've got guys who focus specifically on marketing, very awesome, very good at what they do, extremely smart. And then we've got guys who work in the warehousing, who do the picking and the packing, and the customer service as well. Absolutely fantastic at what they do as well. They've been answering so many calls. I think they're better at answering calls than I am now. This is all stuff that I used to do before. And then we've got the delivery team as well, which goes out and does our own delivery. So we've got our own in-house delivery, because we want to control the customer journey and how the customer is presented with our products and the speed of the delivery. So in order for you to do that, you've got to control some parts of your logistics, which is what we've done. So and also there again, greater deliveries. Johannesburg, South Africa, with the back of their hand type of thing, and guys who you can trust with vehicles on the road, and the guys are going to be safe and they know what they're doing and they know how to also speak to customers. So that's essentially how our company is pretty much broken down. And I think you'll see a lot of e-commerce companies, well, when they start to scale, you start to see that type of breakdown as well, in terms of these are the, call it, departments or divisions that you have. And then you just create skills around that as well.
So a question there, Tinashe, if we had to break it down, so we were speaking about, not having your own product necessarily. Do you think there's an advantage to having your own specific product? Having a single product that you're pushing to a niche, or to, trying to get that 2,000 or 10,000 products, like, what I see most big players are doing. If you look at online marketplaces, it seems like the big trend for the companies that really grow big is to have, hundreds and hundreds of products.
Yeah, I keep saying, I don't know if you know Mrs. Ball's chutney, they don't have 1,000 products. They've only got a couple, a handful, 5 or 6 products. Those 5 or 6 products are doing really, really well. So and that's because they've kind of figured out there's a niche in the source market, and this is the taste and the flavor that people want, and we're gonna dumb down on that and make sure we're the best at it. And lo and behold, they're selling millions and millions of Miss Ball's the products. So I don't think you have to have 1,000 products or even 100 products. You just have to identify what space you want to play in and make sure you're either the best in that space or you're working towards being the best in that space as well. And that's just basically how I see it happening. Whether you're selling 2,000 products or whether you're selling 10,000 products or 1 million products or even 2 products, make sure whatever space that you're playing, that you've correctly identified it, you know what they need and you know how to service that market. And that's, I think, the most important thing. So it doesn't really matter if you've got 1,000 products, if you've got 10 products, or 1 product. It's about identifying what that niche is and doubling down on that.
Okay. I think you're 100% right there. Again, talking about that initial research that you need to do to make sure that you are in the right space. Very, very important. And I feel like having multiple products or not selling your own product versus selling your own product also has its own, advantages and disadvantages. Just an example, I think, having your own product means more control. You can tweak that product, the way that you see need. And it's very difficult to, if you're selling someone else's product, to say, hey, I think your product needs to change a little bit. People aren't going to be very happy with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, in our case, we're in a bit of a fortunate position that we've identified a niche, and also at the same time, we operate almost as a service as well. So the service element for us is the customer service and the delivery, and how great the customer service is, how fast the delivery is. That's sort of helped us to become different within this niche space, is that we understand and we know that people want great customer service, and we know that people expect their products to be delivered in a timeliest manner, and we've kind of been able to get that right over time. So that's, for us, it's a bit of a mixture between being in a niche space with the service attached to it as well, and then we've got a bunch of great suppliers as well who bring these niche products to us, and we're able to take some work off their hands that they would have had to do when it came to doing deliveries or answering customer calls. We'll do that, and then they can focus on marketing the brand. So that's part of what we where we find ourselves in, actually. So yeah, it's been working, so that's good.
Tinashe, I think that is all we have time for. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and we really hope to have you on the podcast again.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to contribute as much as possible. I think you're doing an absolutely fantastic job just in the game, and that's really it. You've just got to do it. Whatever it is that you put your mind to, do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. And if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it as well. So you kind of have to get on your horse and keep going, and make no mistake, there will be bumps along the road, and you will fall. Just don't forget to get up, or have a friend who can pick you up and make sure you keep going.